What I am going to talk about, this is one of what I think is the most exciting time in programming. We're going to move to looking at your first glimpse of artificial intelligence. And what I mean by artificial intelligence in programming, don't worry, we're not going to quite get to some really solid artificial intelligence, but it's all based on the if statements, conditionals. And what happens here is a computer, suppose you're making a robot, and your robot is your butler. And in the morning, what the robot is going to do is the robot is going to maybe run your bath, get your clothes out that you're going to wear for the day, and so forth. So imagine this is the future. You have your own butler robot, and you have a butler that does stuff like that. So what we can do is we can write a code for this robot. And so the code would be based on being able to make conditions. So the robot would look up the weather forecast and all sorts of data that it would collect, and then it would make some decisions. So for example, I'll start with something really simple, and I'm using weather because it's kind of simple. But suppose I had a statement that if it's hot, so if it's going to be a hot day, I want to mention it's going to be a hot day, and I also want to have some water ready. So say drink some water. So imagine a hot day. I want the computer to tell me it's hot to drink some water. So we call this an if statement. And so we use a keyword if, which is if. And actually I should not use proper English here because this is programming, and I'll make it a little more like computer code. So we use this keyword called if. And then after the keyword, and sometimes I use parentheses to really know what I'm looking at for my condition. And so the condition is, it is hot. So that's my condition. And your condition must always evaluate to being either true, that's true, it's hot, or your condition can be not true or false. And we call this a Boolean. So whatever is our condition is going to be evaluated as a Boolean, and then the computer can respond with the true statement. So the two lines here only will be executed if it's true. Okay, you're like, yeah, Mr. Poy, let's go on. So let's go on a bit. Let me do some Python code to explain this statement, and you'll see it running, and it'll probably make sense. So one of the first things I'm going to do is I'm going to create a Boolean, and I'm going to call it is hot. And I'm going to set it to a value, a Boolean value of true. It's not yes or no. In Python, we use true or false for a Boolean. So is it hot? Yes, that's true. So my variable is hot. And is hot is just like any other variable. We have integers, which could be a 5. I could have a float, which is a 5.2. Or I can have the keyword true, and this is a Boolean. Oh, I could also show a string in there too. But a variable is hot, that's my variable. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to write a couple lines of code. So let me just type in some code here. I'm going to say if is hot, and then you put a colon to say this is the list of things to do if the true is happening. So the list, oops, I don't want to do that just yet. So the list of things I want to do that's true is I want to display it's a hot day, drink plenty of water. Let me run this and just see what the output is. And you'll see the output is it's a hot day, drink plenty of water. And I can change this to false. So let me change this to false. So is it hot? No, it's not hot. And now if I was to run the program, you'll see it does nothing. It's not going to print it's a hot day, and it's not going to print drink plenty of water. And what I'm going to do just to prove that, the program ran, because it'll just be blank, it's not going to do anything, I'm going to put a print statement at the end that just says, have a good day. So let me run the program. I'll go run module, and we run it, and it says, just have a good day. Even though there's two other print statements, these didn't execute because it was false. Okay, then I'll get a student that says, well, that's not such a good robot, Mr. Poi. If it's not hot, it should do something else and maybe tell us to put on a jacket and dress warmly. So how do I do statements that are false? Well, there's two ways to do a false statement. One is we can use we can tell it to be the opposite. So we can say if it is not hot, if not is hot. So that can turn a true into a false. That's one way. But let's get to an easier way. An easier way, and this requires a true and false statement, is we have the true statements here, and I use another keyword called else, E-L-S-E, and then I put the false statements in here. Now this also, I need to talk a little bit about the syntax here. When I do a statement, how do I group all these together? To group them together, what we do is we indent. You'll notice everything that was indented occurred if this was true. And then anything that was not indented, we had the print statement, well, that occurs for everything. So let me show you with the false statements. I'm going to put some false statements here. So it's not hot. So is hot is not true. It's false. So it's not going to do the lines above. Instead, it's just going to do what is false, and I'm going to say, looks to be cold today. So you've got weather forecast, and then you've got some instructions. Dress warmly. And then have a good day. And so now I make is hot false. It's not going to do the true statements. It's only going to do what comes after the else. So let's run this one. And when I run this one, I see, aha, it says, looked to be cold today, dress warmly, have a good day. Okay, great. Well, some days are hot, some days are cold. What about a pleasant day? What should we do on a pleasant day? Like a warm day. So it's not a hot day, it's not a cold day, it's kind of like a day today. Quite a pleasant day today. And so what I could do is I can put if statements inside of if statements. And I want to show you what I'm going to do here. So I'm going to make another variable that is it cold? So is cold would be a typical winter day, one where you'd want to dress warmly. A day like today, I don't want to dress warmly because it's a pleasant day. So is cold is actually false today. So where would I put a warm day in here? And so what I can do is in the if statement, I have is it hot? Nope, it's not hot, it's warm. Is it cold? Well, I can check to see if it's cold. And so under the indent here of else, I can say if it's cold, if that is true, if is cold, if it is cold, that's what I'm evaluating. If that's true, I can say looks to be cold today. But if it's not a cold day and it's not a hot day, it must be a warm day. So I'm going to stick an else in here. And so I need to indent these lines. So else, so it's not hot, else, is it cold? And I can put code for cold, but for a pleasant day, it's not hot, it's not cold, and so we call this nesting if statements. So I can nest an if statement here, and I can say, looks to be pleasant today, and that's maybe all I want to do. I don't have to do two things. There's no rule that says I have to do two things, so I'll just do one. And let me run this program. And let's take a look at what we have now. And so for a day that's not hot, is false, so it's not going to do this. We can stick an else statement, and then I can nest in here for not hot. Let's check how cold it's going to be. So it's not hot. Well, if it's cold, we're going to dress warmly. Well, that's not cold. So that means we're only going to do the pleasant day, and it says looks to be pleasant. So we're going to run this and run module, and it says look to be pleasant. So that's one way that we can work with if-then statements for true and for false. There's another statement in there. So if I want to make it, maybe this is a little bit confusing for students. And another way that we could do it is we could use an elif statement. And so we can mix the else and the if together, and that would look kind of like this. And I use a keyword called elif. And then elif will say, okay, it's not true. Let's evaluate this other true and false statement. Okay, but I won't do that just yet today. We'll do that next class. Lastly, I want to talk about conditions. So I'm going to put some comments here at the top because I want to talk about conditions. Conditions to evaluate true and false. Because most of the time when I program, I'm not using if-then statements with Booleans. Sometimes I do, but maybe that's only 10% of the time I'm working directly with Booleans. Often I want to evaluate Booleans on the fly. And so a couple of evaluative statements I can do is I can use this symbol on the keyboard, which is called the less than keyboard. And so if something is less than something else, that means it's smaller. So an example could be something like x is less than 50. Or, yeah. Another condition I sometimes use is this one, that is the greater than sign. And this means it's larger than something. So an example, in GameMaker, when my player was outside of the room, I said y was larger than 500 because my room was 400 pixels tall. So if it's y is my variable, which is the position up and down, if the number was bigger than 500, I knew it was outside the room. There's things I wanted to do. And so that's the larger than. Another one that we're going to use is equal to. And some people might say, oops, Mr. Poy, you put the equal sign twice, slight mistake. No, this is on purpose. And I like to call this the is equal to operator. So in other words, I might want to see if something is equal to, so collision is equal to 500. So maybe I want to see if the collision happened at spot 500 for some reason to display something. So I can have a variable like collision, and I can say, is it equal to 500? So that's another operator. The last couple I'm going to do, less than and equal to. That means it's less than or it's equal to something, and the greater than equal to, and that means it's larger than or it could be equal to that number. Okay, so how could I use something like these conditions in an if-then statement? I'm going to make a real simple, let me comment the code here. Where's comment? I'll just delete this. I'll delete everything here. Okay, so here's my very simple if-then statement. I'm going to make a letter grade program, and I'm going to say grade is equal to 86. And then I'm going to use an if statement, and I'm going to say if grade is larger than 86, so that's my condition. I put a colon, and then I say print you get an A, and then I might say else print no A for you. Okay, so I'm going to run this program. I purposely made a mistake. I hope people maybe know what the mistake is, but I'm going to run this program. So let me just quickly run it to show you using this condition of greater than. So I'm going to hit run. I run the module, and it says, no A for you. What? Uh-oh. What did I do wrong? And so if I look at the problem is, an A is 86. But in here I said the grade has to be larger than 86. And 86 is not larger than 86, so I need to use the greater than and the equal to. And so here I've got my program. Let me run it now. And I said it's greater than or is equal to 86. And in fact, if I was really doing this correct, because I'll get students that say, well, actually, Mr. Poi, my teacher last year said I got an 85.5. They evaluated to 85.5, and 85.5 rounded up to 86, which was an A. So I'll say, okay, let's go to the decimal of 85.5. That's probably the true minimum for an A. But we could say 86, or we could use the round function as well to round up your grades. But let's do it back at 86 here. Okay, so if I get larger than or equal to 85.5, you're going to get an A. And so I run the program. I got an 86. You get an A. Okay, so what we've done here is we've learned the beginning of artificial intelligence, the ability for the computer to make a decision. It's wonderful. It can get very complex, and we're going to get much more complex. This is just the tip of the iceberg and the introduction to this. But really, this is where programming is going to start as far as getting the computer to think and do things for you.